We here, emergency podcast, as Cheats would say. We called this today. This was not planned, but we needed to chop something. We needed to chop this fable about who. Well, one, we're gonna discuss and talk about season finale last night. Was a movie.
Incredible.
Round of applause.
Incredible.
Oh man, thank you, Richmond.
That's one for VA.
Y'all really came out.
Crazy.
Y'all really pulled up on niggas, and
not only Richmond, but 7-5 came out.
7-5, Northern
Virginia came out.
It
was definitely
it was crazy. Packed all night long.
Yo, that shit was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Noah, Lady K up in the joint.
Everybody was in there busting too.
Yes, and everybody was rapping. The open cipher was insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
30 cats. Cypher versus Cypher was crazy. Big style performance. Black Lick performance.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was turned up.
Hey, cuz, Big Style joint had me.
Cypher joint?
With the shit. I was like,
the Cypher versus Cypher?
His joint went viral already. He got like 2,000 views on his joint.
On what, Facebook?
Yeah.
Damn.
Young boy went
Everybody's
viral.
seen us get chromed out on that.
No wonder my joints been going up. My joints been going up. People have just been leaving little caskets in my DMs. I'm like, yo, what's this about? What's this about?
I'm gonna be
Funeral flowers.
That joint was
Someone
highlight.
sent me some flowers to my daughter. I said, yo, what's this about?
I'm gonna keep it 1,000. I did not think he was, coming out the gate like that.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Like,
and the truth is, like, I felt like I was attacking when I wrote, but I knew I was only like, when it came to like direct shots, it was like just jabs. You know what I'm saying? It was more just like aggressive raps all the way around. But he was very laser focused about how he went about.
It's like him and Will Young had a session together. Man, he gonna write this shit about this thing.
They down
straight up.
Yeah, Will Young,
it was
much love to Will Young too.
Oh,
man.
Will Young, that was the illest
cipher,
Will Young I've seen.
Word. If it didn't go to sudden death, I'd have gave it to bruh.
If I had to pick one, I probably would say.
Who was leading it? Like before the joint even ended, it was like, yo, Will Young was like, yo.
Yeah.
It could have been. It could have been. It
could have front runner.
He could. I mean, I thought, I think there was a few guys I had an eye on for sudden death prior to Will Young. Mm-hmm. And then when Will Young went, it was like, anything before that.
Clean.
Yeah, anything before that, it was like, that's done for. Like, it's done for. Because, I mean, and there's a lot of, I ain't going to say a lot. Every now and then there's, some unhappy folks with how the judging goes. So, but I feel like we're pretty accurate about how we judge and how we select, and I'm comfortable with our decisions. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then I feel like somebody might have should have made it to sudden death
right.
that didn't, or every now and then I might feel like maybe there shouldn't have been a sudden death when it was, or maybe too many people got in sudden death than should have been. Because sometimes you start, like, at times we put like everyone that was impressive in sudden death, and that's not like that's not what sudden death is about. It's really supposed to be, whoever set that bar initially, like, yo, this was clearly the best nigga so far. The next person that gets in sudden death has to meet that equally. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't meet it like damn near equally, at least damn near equally, I mean, then we shouldn't be putting them in sudden death. Yes. There was a few people that their names came up, like Habib was crazy,
right?
But it was just like his joint, they weren't hitting.
Nah.
And he was rapping, it was very wordy. He was rapping fast and it was wordy, but it wasn't really no standout lines or no times where like the people just kind of went crazy. And I mean, when you talk about Will Young and how like bar after bar after bar he had people just going crazy.
He just killed it.
You can't
He drew the
just
crowd
equal that out. So,
completely.
but Tone
him
Red
and Tone Red
had those moments. You know what I'm saying?
Sweet.
Basic had those moments, and Vintage had those moments. So that's why those were the guys that we ended up putting in Sudden Death last night. With that being said, from Sudden Death on, it definitely was a clear separation to me. Tone kind of toned down.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Vintage, he kind of, I ain't gonna say he mailed it in, but he kind of mailed that Sudden Death verse in. Will didn't have one.
He didn't have one.
He didn't have one.
Yeah.
Let me turn that ring off.
Yeah, he did not have one.
And then who else was in
Basic.
Basic
Basic
came
kept
with
it
it.
Basic
And ever since his first time in the cypher, his very first time in the cypher, he made it to Sudden Death.
True.
But then he didn't really have the same heat for Sudden Death that he had for the first round.
Yeah. Right.
The next one he won, the one after that he won. And,
Right.
and in his interview, he said after the first one, he was like, I knew that I had to write my first round and I had to have at least one crazy Sudden Death round. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's come consistently like that every time since he got in.
Right.
With that being said, we're here to discuss and deliberate the MVP. There has been some votes that have been taken so far. We don't have them all in, but we do have some votes and we do have some commentary among staff about the MVP. So we'll be sharing some of that commentary. And so let's just do a roll call of who's here. Obviously myself, Radio B.
You got Ella Styles here.
Ella Styles in the building.
Spielberg in the house.
Spielberg.
Michael Millions.
And Michael Millions. We're the only ones that's here for the podcast. So we're going to be letting y'all know what the rest of the staff has already discussed, and then we're gonna break it down from there, what our opinions are, and come to a conclusion tonight who our season 2 MVP is. Just to let y'all know what's at stake. There are some things that the season 2 MVP is going to receive that I'm not gonna say right now, but that you will find out at Flag on the Moon. But the number one thing that they do get is the performing slot at Flag on the Moon, which is December 8th. Shameless plug. Make sure you get those 5th annual Flag on the Moon 5. Ella Styles will be performing. Obviously myself, Michael Millions, Nicholas F. Sneeze is on the bill. Cole Hicks is on the bill. Evan Barlow is on the bill. Easy Leo's on the bill.
Damn.
Congrats to OZ.
OZ won the contest.
Straight up.
Shout out to OZ, big congrats. He's on the bill. He's been promoting like crazy since he won. Like he's made mad flyers. He posts multiple times a day. So I am not mad at that.
He's grateful. He's grateful.
Yeah, he's definitely grateful. He hits me up about things he's doing with his set. Trust me, his set is going to be special.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like he bringing instruments out and some. I ain't gonna, I ain't gonna tell us, let us, but he's definitely amped up, and I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Like
which
that's
is dope.
That's the
that's
kind of spirit
want.
that you want. You know what I'm saying? So
that's the shit we look for.
So it's gonna be a hell of a show, man. Like as usual. Oh, La Solid. We were at Virginia Randolph. I was able to announce that student from Virginia Randolph, but he's also, he got crazy following on the net with his music. He been traveling. He been dropping visuals. I didn't even realize I was following him already. I met him at the school the week before I went to speak. This principal introduced me to him. And I'm like, he showed me his album on iTunes. I'm like, I seen your name before. And looked it up. I was already following him. I reposted one of his vids. I caught it through Anakin. Anakin had reposted it. And it was like, yo, young dude running up the numbers. You know what I mean? Shouted him out.
Yeah.
I had reposted it with the, Richmond Zone, just throwing some love out his way. Full circle. So like, it's crazy, you know what I mean? But like some of them kids out there, like, it's a kid at Virginia Randolph that got like, Kid Lingo, he got like 75,000 followers. He got like
like that?
Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
Working.
Yeah, like so.
Saw them kids.
Shout out to Virginia Randolph. I'll definitely be there more frequently, and I got some initiatives that I'll be doing with the students out there. So that was a good experience. But back to the mission at hand, MVP. So the conversation is this. So there's only two people to discuss.
All right.
It's vintage and it's basic.
What's the criteria? What we going by?
So, all right. So, I mean, the first criteria is the amount of titles won this season, which vintage has 4, and now basic has 3. Okay. Now, that's not the only factor, especially when it's that close. If there was a 2 title lead. Then we wouldn't even be doing this.
Facts.
A 1 title lead, you start to have to look at the circumstances around those titles and weighing them.
Potentially 4 for basic.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But he didn't secure that. And I honestly feel if he had secured the 4, then this conversation would be a lot easier as well.
Facts.
He was 1 bar away last month. 1 bar away, I feel. He cut his sudden death short just a little bit. Was it sudden death that he cut short?
Sudden death.
Yeah, sudden death. He cut that short just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously the numbers are in vintage's favor with him having 1 more. But when you look at the level of competition during Basic's run, it was significantly more enhanced. There were more people in the cyphers.
Right.
There were better people in the cyphers. There were additional champions that had come about prior to Basic getting involved, and not only that, for each of those 3 titles that Basic won, he won them over vintage. So that is a significant factor. Vintage has not won a championship since Basic entered the pool of MCs. So since Basic got there, Vintage has not won a title.
So I ain't gonna hold you. It was like maybe 2 episodes back. Vintage had the craziest
first round.
Yeah, that first.
And now that
he didn't need to, like, for me, it didn't need to be a second. It was sudden death.
It didn't need to be a sudden death.
You know what I'm saying?
See, that has been stated.
Yes.
There have been some razor thin first rounds between the 2 of them.
Very, yes.
Razor thin to the point where you could sway towards vintages if you were to, I feel like that happened also with vintage episode 6 or 7. I can't remember which one.
Who won that joint?
But it was like a whole ton of cats, and then vintage went last and like went stupid ham. I think it might have been 7.
Is that when he started making it a little personal? Is that the one we was he was going at cats?
Yeah, I think he was going at cats on there. Yeah, he was. I mean, he went super stupid ham in that joint. That was still in Champion Brewing Company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went super ham.
Who won that joint?
Was that the one?
That might have been the one.
Was that the one Tone
got?
That's the one Tone got, right?
I think that's the one Tone got.
Yeah. Because Tone snuck in and
he
stole
it.
Yeah, that was the one. That was when Tone and Trade was there.
Trade.
Right. Madison.
Yeah.
That was the 3-round joint too.
That was a 3-round.
Yeah, because the thing
one.
about that was, I think the reason that Vintage went so hard was because Madison was back.
Facts.
Because Madison took one from him earlier in the season.
Right.
And Madison took one from him last year
and
as well. And
Trade
took and that was the other thing. He knew Trade was there, and Trade took a bunch from him last year.
Right.
Trade was our MVP season 1. So I think that was why he came like that, but he didn't pack a lunch for sudden death. And with that pool, and everybody was rapping, it was just hard to just give it to one.
It was.
It was crazy. That was a crazy
episode.
episode. Like it was like for everybody to be rapping that hard and then just say one dude without making them go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
a little long. You had to narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like so, it just so happened he ain't bring
enough verses.
He ain't bring enough. You know what I'm saying? So
Tone Red came.
And it was the thing with Tone, and it was crazy because the argument for me in hindsight, Trey probably could have took that. If you go back that episode, Tone had, I think his first round he kind of choked a little bit, and then got it back, but he had some highlights that carried him in.
Yeah.
But it was like when you look back on it, it's like
fucking Uptown Road shit.
It was. That was the thing with Tone is he would have these like one or two little punches that would shake the room.
Punches,
Nah, he definitely.
And I want to do superlatives in the future. Like next season, we're gonna have like some additional superlatives beyond MVP, like Punchline King, Freestyle King. You know what I'm saying? If I had to say Punchline King, I think. It's Tone Red. So we're going to say Punchline King for season 2 was Tone Red. Freestyle King.
I don't know. Fizz kind of came.
It's Fizz.
That's Fizz all day.
It's either there's only one other person that could be in the talks of that, and that's Ice James. Ice James, he did that twice. He did the like, you know what I'm saying,
with the mic shit.
Yeah, he did it twice too. Crazy. Like he did that at Dark Room and he did that.
The first one he did at
that was the same night. That was the same time.
It was. That was that episode and the very first episode at Dark Room.
Oh my god,
craziest episodes ever.
And the one last night.
Oh yeah,
episode one at Gold Room was crazy.
Yeah.
Episode 1 at Gold Room was sick. The open cipher was crazy because we had all the champions from season 1 come. You know what I'm saying? And we had new cats like Kilroy G and all of them was fire. And Habib, Trade and Vintage. Segue back to discussing Vintage. They had a crazy. They had like 3 sudden death joints as well, and Vintage took it from them. So even though I would say later in the season, Basic beat the tougher competition, Vintage does have a hard fought win over some strong competition in that first episode.
And you gotta also factor in that Vintage been in every joint.
Everyone except for one. Except for that, just that last one.
He's showing up in every joint.
And then been consistent.
So that's
being consistent.
So he definitely embodies what we would probably want to see in MCs on a regular. That consistency, showing up, delivery. Facts. You know what I'm saying? Just being there for real. So that's what I kind of like give the edge out on like
the MVP.
Yeah, like when you're thinking of what an MVP is, and Nick chimed in with some extra words, but kind of mentioning the same things of like just what is the MVP when we looking at like when we selecting an artist to be most valuable. You know what I mean? What are we looking at? Are we just saying because artists came in and splashed on homie, or we like gonna champion the values that we embody as MCs and consistency and just showing up to the court every night, you know what I mean?
Right. And that's the thing too that you gotta consider is that because he has damn near perfect attendance for 11 episodes.
That's how we got for mad free.
You gotta think. So even
Basic still dropping verses on IG.
right. You know what I'm saying? And so Basic comes in towards the middle to the end of the season and goes on a run, but is Vintage diminished a bit by then? Is he a little exhausted by then? Like you got to take that into what I'm saying is not to take nothing away from him.
I like that.
I'm saying that in his favor. Really, what I'm saying is we're being critical by saying that Basic beat him every time, but by the point Basic got there, you got to think about how much work Vintage had already put in
for
two seasons. Because he been there the whole first season too.
Right. Yeah. Consistently making sudden deaths too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that was the thing. He only took one title in season 1. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But he was in the race, in the hunt every time. So you have to. So I mean, I think we all chimed in, and you and I talked about this last night. I felt like Vintage is like he's like the logo. West, He's like the Jerry West logo of RVA Rap Elite.
I could go with that.
And I think if you're saying that though, that happened this season. So if he accomplished that this season, then that means that his impact was that heavy this season. You know what I'm saying? Like
he's been the man to beat.
I mean, kind of was.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was. His name, his face, his name, been all over RV Rap Elite
and in every
all year.
You think about as far as like him being in the verses of, you know, cats that's coming from the 757 or wherever, or even you know, trading them. They've been going at Vintage. You know what I'm saying? It's like Vintage has always been like kind of like that, you know what I'm saying, you want to come for the king.
In the process.
You know what I'm saying? They want to knock him off the throne because they see who the strongest MC consistently through each episode.
And I think also if you had to say that, if you had to pick verses of the year, he would have at least 1 to 2 of them. Like the ones that, like if you had to say the best verse of the year, might have been like his either 6th,
the Baby Gorilla joint,
or 7th. That's another one.
The Baby Gorilla joint.
You know, the cereal scheme.
Oh my God.
The cereal scheme. And you have to give it credit because it was mentioned by Basic and Will Young in that next you know, episode.
Right.
I mean, how often is something that you say that's not directed at anyone picked out to be discussed in somebody else's rhyme? You know what I'm saying? Now, I will say in Basic's credit, I think his name has been, he's been shot at in a short period of time. The most.
And he's held it down.
Yes.
He's held it down.
Like, and he goes back after, even in this last episode, last night, he shot at C-Dub.
Yes.
C-Dub is not even a threat to you.
No.
Like, but
At
because his name, he touched everyone who mentioned his name, from Swapper 9 to C-Dub to Vintage. Like,
everybody.
You know, so it's like, this conversation between the two of them, as far as MVP is concerned, is not an easy. It's very layered.
It's like Jason Kidd and fucking Grant Hill right now.
Like, I'm serious.
It's neck and neck.
It's really like you could go here and then you can turn around and go there. Nick gave us a statement. He sent a statement. He couldn't make it tonight, but he sent a statement. So I'm gonna read Nick's statement about his pick. He says, so the podcast is about most valuable for this season of Rap Elite. And the most important word in that phrase is valuable. It's a tough choice choosing between Vintage A and Basic. There are compelling arguments to be made for both of them, and I feel I could argue both sides convincingly. And if we're talking about most valuable, I think of the value to the league. I think that goes beyond wins. I feel that over the course of the year, Vintage displayed what it means to be MVP. He holds up the morals, mindset, and work ethic that we're looking to see in our MCs. I think he's been an excellent example of what we want to see from the artist. He was one of the first MCs to start making the cyphers personal and really start calling out names and taking heads. He keeps that energy. He comes for blood every month and has done so all year long, only missing one episode. But I also feel the need to mention that Basic came in and set another sort of standard. A level of writing and poise that can't be overlooked. I think the only thing working against Basic is that he came in a little too late in the season to steal the MVP. My vote goes to Vintage, but props to both of these guys. I can't wait to see what y'all do next year. Salute to that. Salute to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think that's everybody's sentiments. Yeah. It's not that Basic can't be the MVP. That's true. It's just
you might have came too late.
And Vintage is here.
He says It's hard not to give MVP to someone who went on such a streak as Basics, but all Vintage's performances were on par or better than his, and Vintage may have been robbed at least once in my eyes. So,
I think it's pretty unanimous who the MVP is, but like even just as a close second, like definitely
like 1A, 1B.
We can't 1A 1B type thing.
Right.
We can't overlook Basic, but
at all.
Just for what we what we value and what we've seen and the the historical.
And I think both of them display what we value and what we want out of our MCs. Bro. I think Vintage just was able to do it for a longer period of time.
Iron Man and shit.
Yeah.
If you look at it, he the Iron Man of the joint. Basic joint, you can see as far as like what y'all say as far as like being an MC, as far as embodying, the culture. It's like you can look at just for me talking to the cat and interviewing him for a few of the joints that he won, it's like, you sit there and pick his brain. I sit there and, ask him questions about, how he progressed each episode and what he did better. Right. One joint he said that he went and studied Royce.
And then he said he studied Royce. This is what I thought was compelling. Yeah. He said he studied Royce for the first round and studied Daylight for the acapella.
Facts.
That was so because you got to think about what the mindset is like. You know that you're going for something different when it goes to that acapella, and we've seen so many people, Vintage included, not prepare for that acapella, not prepared for that sudden death. So just his mindset going in, it's impressive to me. It's like and the way that he approaches when it's his time to rap. Like he walks in, like he don't
commands it.
He commands it. Like, yo, I'm gonna step all the way to the front of the stage and I'm gonna speak very clear. You know what I'm saying? I think it was Ease would say like, he's like, it's just he seems like he kind of like be forcing it a bit. And I don't feel like that. I feel like that what he's doing is trying to be authoritative.
Yes.
In the way that he displays what he's doing with his writing, and it's effective because it's hard sometimes to keep a pocket on a beat and be that clear when you're being lyrical. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a gift with the way that he is able to deliver because he's very pen heavy. So when you're pen heavy like that, and it's a lot of layers in what you're doing and wordplay, a lot of that gets lost in the beat. He's able to make it shine. And be complex.
It's an art.
It is an art to that. Because sometimes I'm like, why am I hearing this like I'm hearing it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the way he raps, a lot of guys that rap like that, it's lost in the sauce when it's on a beat. You know what I'm saying? So he has ability to like project in a way that's very special.
Kind of like that J-Elect type.
Very definitely, I could see that.
Yeah, J-Elect type.
So I do think it does seem to be rather, I won't say unanimous. I'm on the fence with my vote, and my original vote was towards Basic. But I'm the one that introduced a lot of the talking points for Vintage as well. So I feel like at one point when I introduced these talking points is when the conversation kind of switched in another direction. And I'm not mad at it because I feel like when I introduced those talking points, it also opened up my thought process for an argument more so for Vintage than I originally had. Like last night,
you were Basic.
I kind of felt like Basic had it because not only that, he won season finale. To me, that means he's got the free pass for season 3. And to me, season finale Cypher holds a little more weight than the rest of them.
Right.
That's like the Super Bowl of the night. Amen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you win that joint, it's like a bonus one.
No question.
You know what I'm saying?
Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's like, and it was because it was maxed out, 30 MCs.
Money in the bank.
You know what I'm saying? It was 30 MCs.
It was.
So like, I always credit that a little more. So to me, it's almost 4-4 in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because of that. So it's tough, man.
Oh, it's tough. But this
is tough.
I think, and as far as like, you know, listen to everybody and all y'all are MCs, which is dope. Me being on the outside listening to y'all, it's like, I think from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, it's kind of like, this is kind of what you want in a platform.
Absolutely.
As this. You got two heavyweights, you know what I'm saying, neck and neck. There's no, I mean, there's a difference.
But it's thin.
It's thin. It's a real thin. It's like it's thin ice. Like
you want to be able to have this conversation. I want to be able to have this conversation and be talking about 3 or 4 different cats next year. You know what I'm saying? Like I want it to be a thing where we gotta really, you know,
pick.
Yeah, break it down. Like, yo,
this shit.
Like it was a good 3 or 4 people that could have been in the running once we get the season finale episode, and like, yo, who gonna take this? You know what I'm saying? It kind of was crazy to have 30 MCs and be like, only 2 of these guys are eligible to take MVP tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see it be about 4 or 5 people that could be in the running for it. I want season finale to be the determining factor. Yeah, you know. And
it's a couple MCs in the joint that could be in that
have the talent. Will Young, like last night, if he's to maintain, I think, you know, I always wondered with him with Basic being so close. They're very close.
Facts.
And with Basic being on a run, I was wondering if Will Young kind of like hold back a little bit.
I'm thinking so, bro. I mean, that's what I feel.
I don't know. Last night he
didn't seem like that. But he didn't have any sudden death. So maybe, so in my mind, I think
he only made
he makes sudden death all the time. He almost always makes sudden death.
Yeah, that's right.
He just never has one. He's just never has a consistent sudden death. And he didn't have one last night at all. And with that first verse, you gotta know you're going to sudden death. Yeah. So for you to not have one, to me, you didn't intend to win.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if at this point now, if you don't come with a sudden death verse, you don't have no intentions on winning.
Facts. Facts.
It's very hard with the competition that we have now to win
flat out.
It's definitely rare. I mean, because it's so subjective at that point. Like, you know, like everybody's gonna shake the room in the first. Not everybody, but at least 2, 3, 4 people are gonna like really shake that room in the first round.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then once that's happened, it's kind of hard to be like, well, this person over that person without having y'all rap some more.
Facts.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Facts. So I think that's what MCs need to take into account for the next year when you're going in. All the things that we discussed about Vintage and Basic, you know, consistency, being present, you know, how many wins and how you get to those wins. We're looking for you to move that crowd. You know, it's not purely based on crowd reaction. We're looking at the complexity of your pen. We're looking at how you deliver the rhymes, how confident you are, how you command the stage. Everything that an MC is supposed to bring to the table. Creativity, being unique, having your own style. But how you move that room is important. You know, I could think that your pen is immaculate. But if you're not connecting with that crowd in any way, like you don't make them nothing, it's very difficult for me to give you the nod over somebody else that has the crowd reeling. You know what I'm saying? So like you gotta, you know, people that may not be like punchline rhymers, but if you look at how some of the people have succeeded, everybody that has succeeded or at least gotten a sudden death aren't all punchliners. Swappa Nine's not a punchline, but he's made sudden death twice.
Fizzle wasn't a
Fizzle's not a punchline.
Definitely not a punchliner, but that fucking freestyle.
What's homie Mal is not like a punchline, like a setup punchliner. He has one-liners.
He's like ain't clever with his shit.
It's right. It's shit was right. Clever. It's not always about punchlines. It's just about saying something that rings through to the judges and to the crowd.
And his joints, I think he ride the beat.
Yeah, and it's a lot of personality.
Yeah, and then the acapella.
That's the thing with Tone Red.
Tone personality.
Tone personality shines through with his lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And people believe Tone.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Who said that? Somebody was like, unless you Tone Red, I don't feel like you ain't got no, you ain't shooting nobody. You know what I'm saying? Unless you Tone Red.
Who the fuck said this shit?
Was it Basic?
I think it was Basic first round, yo.
No.
Yes, I think it was.
I think it was Basic first round.
Might have been. I can't remember. I can't recall. You might be right. I can't even recall who. I just remember somebody clearly saying that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know,
Tone. I felt like Tone, if he could have bought the same punches that he had in the first round, he
fades off in sudden death too.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
It's to me, it's like, you know, it's been the same. I want to say it's the same kind of like, I don't know how to put that shit, as far as like the same content in the acapella rounds that we've been just kind of like it. That's what
I think you know what it is too with Tone. He always has these sneak punchlines, right?
Facts,
but they're not back to back.
Yeah.
So what happens is you got 2 minutes in the first round. He has more time to get to him.
Also, yeah, with Tone, being that he has 2 minutes in the first round, he always takes like 6 bars to really warm up and get to his pocket.
Right. And then he hits you with one. So like in the acapella, you got that 1 minute and it be over.
Yeah.
It takes like a good 6 to 8 bars for him to warm up.
Basic is more like, I'm gonna try to give you something to react to every other bar. You know what I'm saying? Like, if either it's going to be some wordplay or a name flip or a punch or something, but I'm going to give you something. So it's like his sudden deaths usually exceed the competition. Like nobody, because Vintage is the same way as Tone. It takes him some time to warm up and hit you with lines that are going to like, you know what I'm saying? But he's really good in all throughout his, and Vintage is better on beat. He finds pockets, and the way that he just like, you know what I'm saying? Like he gets going in those pockets. Like he can give you like 10 words in like these like little spaces, like, and he just plays in those pockets where it's like. Then when he hits you with a punch or he just says something, it's just the way he like he just whips his word. Like he
put a beat on.
So then, and he said it in his round before, like that he raps, like he does better on beat. You know what I'm saying? Like I think he said it in a sudden death before. Like I don't really do like these acapellas like that.
Yo, you wild, guy.
Big wild.
Yeah.
Y'all crazy.
Freeway shit.
But yeah, so I mean, all right, so I guess. The announcement is that our MVP for season 2 is Vintage A.
Vintage A, what up, man?
Vintage A.
Yeah, salute. Congratulations. Salute. You fucking earned it.
Finale was won by Basic, so we'll be seeing Basic hopefully, I'm sure, next year. He has the free pass all year. Our champions from previous seasons, do keep in mind, you know, you got to pay to get in and win you a championship before you get free passes again. The only people that have free passes at this point now are our two previous MVPs, which are Trademark and Vintage, as well as Basic, because Basic won season finale of season 2. So January 26th is season 3 season premiere. We'll be putting together the card for that, and I'll be dropping the instrumental and opening up signups probably tomorrow.
Nice. It's gonna be crazy.
So last thing, Team Radio did win last night.
Boom, you know. Boom. Shouts to Nicole Hicks.
I
was that Chihuahua.
Definitely shout out to Nicole Hicks. She was, I would say she was our team MVP. Finals MVP.
God, bro. Yo,
shout out to everybody involved in
I had
that.
to post that shit, bro.
That shit had me weak.
Oh yeah, that was
I
crazy.
had to.
Oh, man.
I was like, this is epic. I was like, let me go ahead.
Yo,
and
Spielberg with the
cold
craziest meme of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, that shit was funny.
The cold hips dog meme.
Yo.
But yo, I appreciate y'all for all tuning in to the Emergency Podcast.
Yeah.
And I appreciate y'all also for supporting us. Season 1, season 2. We're back at the dark room next year. Also, MCs, get your tapes ready. Get your freestyles ready. Start submitting me some freestyles. We're going to start putting together these mixtapes next year, starting in January. Get them instrumentals. Hop on them instrumentals. I'll be reaching out to a lot of different artists that, are known in the city. I need freestyles from everybody. Illa, Mike, Nick, Mutant Academy, Noah.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? G Sambo, whoever, everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody,
like,
man.
Artillery to God, you name it. So salute to everybody that participated and touched the stage this year. I appreciate y'all. See y'all January 26th for season 3.
Let's go.
RVA Rap Elite.
Flag on the moon.
Flag on the moon.
Yeah.
December 8th.